James Bond has left active service and is enjoying a tranquil life in Jamaica. His peace is short-lived, however, when an old friend from the CIA turns up asking for his help. The mission to rescue a kidnapped scientist turns out to be far more treacherous than expected, leading Bond onto the trail of a mysterious new villain armed with a dangerous new technology. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Burns Reviews, and today we were talking about the final chapter in the Daniel Craig Bond franchise, No Time to Die, and oh my god, what a tour de force, a proper send-off for the great James Bond. I have so much to talk about, but before we even begin, if you're new to the channel, if you could, give the video a thumbs up, and if you like more early reviews just like these, give the channel a sub, a thumbs up, ring the bell, you know the deal. And yeah, we're going to go into it. This is going to be a spoiler-free review of this movie, but I think there are going to be more James Bond videos coming this week, so be sure to subscribe. I'm going to talk more about that later on. So, No Time to Die, what can I even say? You know, first and foremost, I am so happy to see Daniel Craig giving it his absolute best. That's the one thing that I really enjoyed about this film the most, is that if you go back and watch Spectre, Craig seems a little disenfranchised, and of course you've all seen those interviews where he talks about how he doesn't like doing it anymore because of the writing, and this definitely has everything that he wanted. It has all the arcs being tied up nicely. There are callbacks to all of the movies, but they're not dependent, so if you walk into this movie, you can still enjoy it. But if you are a fan of the franchise, like I am, you will most definitely appreciate it. The film is directed by Cary Fukunaga, who is more famous for doing the first season of True Detective, and yeah, he is great at getting all of those shots perfectly done. The movie is incredibly well paced. I think it's the longest Bond film ever at 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's definitely the longest of all the Daniel Craig movies, and you never feel it. 2 hours and 45 minutes, the pacing was amazing because you really care about these characters. Jeffrey Wright as Felix, Naomie Harris, Ben Whishaw as Q, Ralph Fiennes as M, they all come back and they all bring a certain complexity that we haven't seen with these characters in the previous incarnations in previous films. And I really love it because in so many ways, despite being a lot of tough guys, they're like a family. And it really, and I, not to make an F9 joke, but you really do feel that camaraderie. You really do feel it. And I love that about the characters. Joining the cast, we have Ana de Armas, who you might know from Blade Runner 2049 and Knives Out. She's pretty good. I do wish that she was in the movie a little bit more. She's one of the 00 agents, and she claims to be one of the rookies, but as the movie goes on, as you can see in the clips, she's clearly not new on the job, and unfortunately, she's only in the film for about 10 minutes in the middle. You know, she's there for like a little side mission, so if you're going in there as a giant fan of hers, I hate to disappoint you, but she's clearly not the focus. And then we have Léa Seydoux, who plays Madeleine Swan, and I think people are going to be talking about her performance a lot outside of Daniel Craig because she really does bring an emotional resonance to her character. And it always makes me wonder, why, Bond? Of all the people that you could have chose as a partner, why did you choose her as a rebound after Vespa, right? I mean, she was the daughter of Mr. Swan, who was a notorious douchebag from the first movie all the way up until the end. Why would you pick her? And then you can't be too shocked when you find out that she has a couple secrets that she hasn't told you about. With that said, I think she does a great job. She's emotionally wrought throughout the entire movie. You really feel the emotions. It's never overplayed, and it really pulled me into the movie in ways that I've never been pulled into a James Bond movie before. We also have Lashana Lynch, who plays Naomie, the new 007, which I know a lot of people have been ragging about, going on and on. You can't have her be the new 007. I'm gonna stop you right there. They do a fantastic job with the character. And it's written in such a way to tie together with the storylines that Daniel Craig's James Bond is going through, and it works. It's very fitting. James Bond is retired, this character has taken his spot, and now James Bond has to deal with that. And I love the dynamic that the two of them have. You know, it's very tit for tat, they're kind of friendly, but they're also very competitive, and it's a lot of fun to watch. She's also doing a great job in the limited screen time that she has. And you know, Lashana Lynch actually kind of reminded me of Trina Parks from Diamonds Are Forever. She's got this very strong personality, and she's a badass, and I love the scenes that she's in. She wasn't taken away from James Bond. She's standing side by side with him, and they're not exactly viewed the same way. I don't they don't feel like they're equals. They feel like they're operating on their own levels, separately but together, and it's just a great synergy that the two characters have together. I would absolutely watch a sequel or a spin-off in some capacity with Lashana Lynch. As far as the action, it's fantastic. I mean, there's 6 or 7 set pieces easily, probably more, and every time I never felt the pacing being dragged. I never felt it being like, why are we doing this again? Every single time I was engaged and like just amazed watching this on a giant IMAX screen. And of course, all of this is tied together beautifully with the score by Hans Zimmer. You always get Hans Zimmer if you want to do a movie right. He really does bring a certain essence to this movie. If things have to be emotional, if things have to be action-packed, it really brings you on that journey. Love Hans Zimmer, and he doesn't slack on this movie at all. So wrapping up my positives, we have an all-star cast who are all bringing their A game. Daniel Craig is happy to be there, because they gave him all of the script plot points that he wanted. Everything is paid off beautifully from the beginning of Casino Royale up until now. And in so many ways, this is really an end of an era. Casino Royale came out in a very post 9/11 kind of world, and that was the James Bond we were given to basically go on this journey with. He's essentially like a mad dog. He's like a psychopath with a broken heart. And we really see him grow as a character, unlike any other iteration of Bond that I've ever seen before. So I really enjoyed No Time to Die. I find it to be a perfect trilogy. Yes, I said a trilogy because every other movie you can kind of pull out and just put those 3 movies together and go, wow, that's pretty solid. I would even say it kind of reflects the Dark Knight trilogy. And if you see this movie, you know exactly what I mean. Skyfall especially really does reflect the Dark Knight. But you really, in my opinion, I don't love those middle movies in between 1, 3, and 5. But I thought this was a fantastic film. I think it's going to be a classic. It's not my favorite of all the Bond films, but it's pretty damn close. I had to really think about that for a while. And also, you really don't feel the runtime. At 2 hours and 45 minutes, I did not feel it at all. I can't wait to see what Cary Fukunaga puts out next because this is pretty solid. Now, going into negatives very quickly, I don't have a lot, so I'm just going to kind of run them off. It's not the most original Bond story. When you think about how you have a villain who wants world domination, you've seen it before. In fact, if you've seen these Daniel Craig movies, we're not really getting anything new brought to the table, which might be a gripe for some people. Me personally, not really. I enjoyed having all of the different movies tied together into one giant saga. In fact, you could definitely watch all 5 films together as kind of like a binge, the way you would with like a season on Netflix. It's just that good. And then of course we have Rami Malek, who I will argue, Rami Malek is a character that I really liked a lot on Mr. Robot. I thought he fit that character fit him. Since then, Bohemian Rhapsody, what's that one movie he did with Denzel? What was it? The Little Things? Not great. I feel like he's very repetitive in his acting, and I will say this much. He does feel more unique in this movie than he has in any other movie that I've seen him in. I feel like he does elevate his acting skills, and it doesn't just feel like Rami Malek as. It feels like a genuine character. Is he the greatest Bond villain ever? No. Does he have a lot of screen time? Not really. But his presence is felt, because his actions lead to so many dominoes being pushed over that you feel him in the movie. And I think he does a pretty solid job, but he wasn't... I felt like he was the weakest link inside the movie. For example, we have a flashback scene, I think maybe 10 or 15 years earlier, and I found myself scratching my head going, wait, how old is Rami Malek supposed to be in this movie? Because there's some flashbacks about his story, and he seems to be the same age, and I'm like, wait, how is that possible if that was supposed to be 10 years ago? All right, again, a nitpick. But, and also his whole thing, it's like he's a male Poison Ivy villain, and I'm like, that's kind of lame. But in the scope of things, it's the most minuscule of complaints that I can point out. And then we have the ending. Now, I can't say much because obviously I'm not going to go into spoilers, but if you're a Bond fan of this franchise, the Daniel Craig Bond films, it's very emotional because so many things are paid off, so many things are tied together, and if you are a big fan who has been following this journey for the past 15 years, you're going to find yourself a little bit choked up as you say goodbye to Daniel Craig playing this part. With that said, and again, a tiny nitpick, it almost felt a little overindulgent. It almost felt slightly cheesy. I feel like you could have maybe condensed it a tiny bit, maybe shave a minute or two, because I'm like, all right, you're really gonna milk it for every little bit that you can get out of this scene. And for me, I loved it, but I think for certain people, they might see it, they might go, all right, we get it. Can we wrap this up, please? I'm not one of those people, and I think Bond fans will not be that way as well. But those are my tiny nitpicks for negatives. In closing, my final verdict for this movie is going to be an A-. It's not my all-time favorite Bond, but the more I think about it, the more I love it. You know what? Forget it. I'm going to give it an A. I really have to give it an A. I like Skyfall more. I think I like Casino Royale more. I don't know. I think I'm going to do a ranking of these Bond films because I have some thoughts on this, but it's really hard. I'm like inch for inch. I can kind of go like, well, it depends how I feel that day, to be honest. And that's kind of the great thing about James Bond is that he has transcended his own character. Much like Batman, he can be viewed as a campy character. He can be viewed as a serious character. It's really just a matter of what you're in the mood for when you watch James Bond. And with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. We just hit 5,000K. We're trying to get up to 10K, so if you can hit that subscribe button, we'd really appreciate it. We got some early reviews coming out. I just saw Venom, Let There Be Carnage. I'm going to be talking about that later in the week. We're also doing a watch-along for The Foundation, which is new on Apple TV+. And until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. I've been John. You just got burned, and we will see you next time.